When you're pricing cakes, cookies, cupcakes, whatever bake it is you sell in your bakery or home baking business, it's really important to be crystal clear on all of the facts and figures about how much it costs you to actually produce that product. That'll help give you the confidence in your cake pricing and also make sure you're getting a fair price that means you can build a sustainable business. I like to recommend using a calculator to at least base your pricing on. So below this video, there's a link to this cake pricing calculator, which you'll get if you sign up to my newsletter. To use this calculator, what you need is an hourly rate. So that is a price per hour that you would pay yourself to do this job. Time, so how long it takes you to put this order together from absolute start, so meeting with your clients, speaking to your customers, all the way through to packaging and delivering the order. Then material costs, which is what we're going to be looking at in this video. So how much it costs in raw materials for you to put this order together. Then there's overheads, and that all combined will give you the final amount. So if we just run through this, let's say we would be $15 pounds per hour. The great thing about the calculator is as long as you input your home currency, it's going to work perfectly for you. Let's say the order takes 4 hours. Our material costs are something like 14. So then overheads is automatically generated as 5% of this kind of combined value, and it will automatically be added to the overall price and let you know you should charge somewhere in the region of $77. So this is a great starting point. It takes away all that guesswork. Oh, how much should I charge? You're inputting the numbers, the exact numbers of what it's going to cost you, and it gives you a figure to charge. So really easy, really straightforward. So like I mentioned, what we're looking at in this video is the material costs. And what I like to use to calculate the material costs is a spreadsheet like this as a kind of cake costs calculating system. Now it looks a bit much, looks like there's a lot going on, but actually once you've kind of added the first bits of information, and even really one row is what contains all of the kind of the maths that goes into it, we just duplicate that for as many ingredients as you're going to have. So this particular spreadsheet we're looking at here is actually what's included in my course, Cake Pricing Plus. So if you've started this video and think, this looks like too much work, I can't be bothered creating my own, head to the link below this video and you can buy it. You'll get this exact spreadsheet along with tutorial videos, many other spreadsheets and e-guides that will walk you through the entire pricing process from start to finish. But if you're ready to get stuck in and build your own cake costs spreadsheet, keep watching and we're going to create something very similar to this. So I am going to build this in Google Sheets. I've chosen this because it's free for anybody to use on the internet. However, if you're using Excel and you've got a Windows PC, or you're using a Mac, I believe their default system is called Numbers. The process will be very, very similar. There might be some slight differences in the names that are used for some of the sort of menu items, but the principles will be the same and you'll still be able to put together your spreadsheet, whatever system you're using. So first, I'll just give you a quick run through of how this spreadsheet would work if you were putting together an order. So I've got this example here for vanilla cupcakes. And because I've added in all of the prices for the ingredients I need for the vanilla cupcakes, so we've got our plain flour, our caster sugar, our icing sugar, our baking powder, butter, etc. I've added in the price for that ingredient, the units that it comes in. So all I need to do for this new order is to add in the quantities. So I'll look at my recipe. I'll say for plain flour, I am wanting to use 300 grams. That will automatically update the cost. For caster sugar, we're using 250 grams. Icing sugar, 300 grams. And if you don't use grams, we're going to look at using pounds and ounces when we build our own spreadsheet. So don't worry about the values that you're using. We will be able to work out whatever it is that you use. Butter, we'll say 300 grams, we'll say 5 eggs. And you can see this all updates as I'm going. So let's say this is for 24 cupcakes. So we've added in even the cost of the packaging. And this lets me know for 24 cupcakes, it is going to cost me £5.61. So that's kind of the basic principles of this spreadsheet. So now we will go ahead and build our own. So open up a blank spreadsheet in whatever system you are using. The first thing we'll do is give this a title. So we'll just call it Cake Costs Spreadsheet. And then we'll start setting up our columns. So if we look back at the example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. So we'll count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what we want to do, just to give a title to this, is highlight those 6 columns, head into Format, Merge Cells, and then Merge Horizontally. And that will allow us to add in a recipe name. But this is going to be our template, so we'll not put in a specific recipe, we'll just actually call it recipe name, as simple as that. We can center this up using this Align button. So then we want to add in our different column headings. So we've got ingredients, and if you use the arrow key, you'll be able to move over to the next box. We've got price, size, price per unit, amount, and finally cost. So before we start going into the detail and the maths side of the spreadsheet, we're just going to do a little bit of styling so it looks a bit more aesthetically pleasing. Not necessary, but I do find it easier to use if we do a little bit of styling. It helps us know which columns we need to be working on. So what we'll do is just click in any of these boxes and then hit Control A. Sorry, just click anywhere that you've not got anything in. Control A, and that will select everything. Then we can set up a font that we like. We can increase the font size. And then we can change the alignment. So what I'm going to do is center align everything and then vertically align everything. So that's all the kind of basic font setup. What I want to do is just make the heading a bit bolder and a bit larger. And what I can also do is make this box a little deeper just by clicking that line in between number 1 and 2 and then dragging down. So what you might find is some of the columns, like this one here, has actually cropped out some of the text on either side. So we can fix that. Again, we'll click on an empty cell, Control A, back to Format, and this time we are going for text wrapping and then wrap. And that will just make sure that any time something's too big for a box, it'll drop it down onto the line below. The last thing we want to do in terms of kind of the basic framework of this spreadsheet is just to increase the size of ingredients. So just as we did with this recipe name, we are going to just drag that A cell slightly over, and that'll just help us because this first column is going to have longer names, so the names of ingredients, so we want that one to be a bit bigger. Last bit of styling we're going to do is adding some colour. So I like to add colour to these titles just so I know that they're separate from the sort of values we're going to be inputting. So we'll highlight those, use the paint box button to add a fill colour on the background, so anything you like. If you want to actually outline these boxes, you can do that using this borders button. Giving all borders, we'll just add a line to every single cell, and that kind of separates everything out. The last piece of colour I want to add, if we just go and look at our example, is to this price, units and amount columns. And you'll see on this spreadsheet I've got here that those are the cells we're going to be editing. So that just helps when you come to work on this spreadsheet in the future. You'll remember, oh, I don't need to touch anything in those white columns. I only need to update the values in the coloured columns. So it's just a little bit of a visual reminder. So that's price and size. So we'll just highlight those and kind of drag that down to as many rows as you think you'll need. And we will make that yellow. And the same with amount. We'll just highlight that and drag down, and then fill that with a really pale yellow. So that's us all set up and ready to start creating our master cake cost spreadsheet. What I did in this example is add some headings in. So again, not a necessary step, but if you think this is going to help you organize your different ingredients, we can add in those headings. So first thing we'll do is add in our flowers. And what we can do, just so we know that's a heading, is just bold that up. So then we'll start adding in our flowers. So we could say plain flower, and then we can use the down arrow and say self-raising flower. I know that's not very common in the States, but we do use it a fair bit in the UK. Then we've got gluten-free flour and whole wheat flour. So I'll just do a few in here as an example, but you can add as many as you commonly use in your bakery. And you'll remember this is kind of our master cake cost spreadsheet. What we'll do once we've got all of the values in here is duplicate it every time we're costing out a new recipe. And you'll see why that's really valuable when we get to the end. So what I'll do is just pause the video here, add in a few more ingredients, and then we will go on to the kind of maths and calculation side of it. So I've added a few ingredients in here. Of course, this list could be much, much longer and will be much, much longer for you. But this is just to kind of get us going with the bare bones of this spreadsheet. And the great thing is, once you've kind of got the overall formatting of the spreadsheet in place, you can easily add more and more ingredients as you go. So let's take a look now at the calculation part, which is the most complex part of the spreadsheet. Up till now, it's all been fairly straightforward. The good news is, once we've done one row, it's just a case of copying it to all of the rows, but I'm going to talk you through this whole process and the different calculations we'll do, just so you understand them. But like I say, once you've done one, we'll just be copying and pasting. So to just kind of get our heads around this calculation, we're going to actually use one of the ingredients so we can kind of get accurate figures. So I'm going to start with all-purpose flour, plain flour, and I'm going to start with a £50 bag, which is $14.21. So for the price, we'll add in $14.21. And then for the size, we've got two options here. So like I said, it's sold as a £50 bag. But what you need to think about is what units you use when you're creating your recipes. So are you measuring out your flour in pounds, or are you measuring out your flour in ounces? So if you use ounces for your recipes, what I would recommend is converting this £50 to ounces, which is going to be 800. I did not do that off the top of my head. I have a Google conversion on the other screen, so don't worry. And then we want to add our first bit of calculation. So price per unit is going to allow us to calculate how much 1 ounce of flour is going to cost us. And from there, we'll be able to figure out how much it's going to cost for a specific recipe. So what we'll do is type in the equals symbol. Then we'll click on the price box, press the backslash, which represents divide, and then we'll select the size box and then hit enter. And that's now telling us that it is 0.017 cents for 1 ounce of flour. So I know that's a little bit of a gobbledygook number, but You'll never need to know or remember that, but we do need that figure for the next part of the calculation. So let's say in your recipe you use 16 ounces of flour. We now want to know how much that's going to cost. So again, we will press equals to start our sum. Then we'll first click the amount box. This time we'll use the asterisk, which represents multiplication. And then we'll click the price per unit box and then hit enter. So now that's telling us that it's going to cost 28 cents for 16 ounces of flour. Now just to tidy up this number so we don't have those additional points, what we'll do is select that box, head to Format, Number, and then select Number here. And that'll just tidy it up so it's nice and easy to understand that it is 28 cents. So I'll just quickly run through that process again, but I'll do it in kilograms for anybody watching who's based in the UK. So I've got a 16 kilogram bag of flour here that is £13.22. So we'll say 13.22. And again, we've got that option of whether we say 16 kilograms in this box or we change that to grams, which is probably what you're using in your recipes. So if we do change that to grams, what we're going to do is say 16,000 grams. And as I mentioned, we don't need to go ahead and do that calculation again. We can just Control C to copy that box above and then Control V, and it will do that sum for us. So in our recipe, we want to use 500 grams of flour. Again, we don't need to do that sum again. We can just say Control C and then Control V to copy, and it's going to be 41 pence for 500 grams of flour. So hopefully those sums make sense. Like I say, once you've done them once, that's it. It's just a case of kind of the laborious task of finding out how much each of your ingredients are going to cost you to purchase. So at this stage, what we want to do is add those functions to all of the boxes that are below. So any box that we're going to be actually using for our ingredients. So now what we want to do is apply those calculations to all of the cells we're going to use within the spreadsheet. So first we'll just add some placeholder numbers. So we'll just say 1 and 1 for the price and the size. Of course we'll update these as we go through all of our ingredients, but this is just to allow us to copy. Then we're going to Control C, Control V for the price per unit, Control C and Control V for the cost. Now that we've got those figures in place as a kind of blank slate, we are going to select this entire section, so the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells. We will Control C and then we'll just paste that wherever we need it. So we want all of these cells to be filled with that information, this section to be filled with that information, and then this bottom section. And you can do that for as many ingredients as you have. This is just my example. I didn't want to spend too much time filling out all of that ingredients, but it's just to kind of show you how this is going to work. So now you've got the, oh, we missed one line in there. So now you've got the framework, you can just start adding all of your ingredients. So let's say for our gluten-free flour, that's going to cost us a bit more. And that's going to be another 800 ounce bag. Our whole wheat flour is $17.45. Let's say that's a 600 ounce bag, if that's a thing. No, we didn't need this one here. So I'll just pause, fill out more of these values, and then meet you back once I've added those in. Now that we've added all of the prices and unit sizes for our ingredients, the final calculation we need to add to the spreadsheet is a total. So we'll click a cell below this costs column. We'll press equals, and then we want to type sum because we're going to be adding multiple things together, an open bracket, Then we'll click on the top price, drag all the way down to the bottom, add a close bracket, and then hit enter. And that's saying 0 just now, but that's because it's got nothing to add up. What you can do just to make this box more obvious is give it a border. So we'll click on the box, give it a border. You can add a background color, and then we can just make the font size a little bigger. On the box to the left, you could also add something like total, just so you know exactly what that means. And that is us. This is our master cake costs spreadsheet. So what we can do now is duplicate this for every recipe, and I'll show you how that works. So first thing, we want to rename this. So we'll right click and then rename, and we'll call this master costs sheet. Then to duplicate, we'll right click again and then select duplicate. Then what we can do is right click, rename to the recipe name. So let's just say something like vanilla cake. And then we can add that recipe name into the heading area as well. It helps if you could spell vanilla cake correctly. And now we just want to add in the values from your vanilla cake recipe. So I'm just going to guess this, and I'm realizing I've actually forgotten eggs, so this won't be particularly accurate, but it'll show you the principles and how it works. So let's say we're using 16 ounces of plain flour, 16 ounces of caster sugar, 8 ounces of butter. We want 15 cases and 1 box. So that's telling us our total cost for this very strange vanilla cake is $4.71. If you've got another recipe, you'll go back to the master version, which is empty and waiting for you to add your values. Duplicate it again, and then maybe this time you're trying to cost out brownies. You can go ahead and add in the values of your brownie recipe. Now, as I mentioned, this was just my quick draft. Obviously, for you to get the most out of this and to save you the most time, add as many ingredients as you can into your master sheet. Then when you duplicate it, you're not looking for prices, you're not having to add new ingredients, you're just going to be adding the amounts from your recipe. So although this first master sheet does take a long time to kind of put together, there's no kind of getting around that. Once you've got that done, when you duplicate it and add in the amounts for your new recipes, that portion's really quick. And then you've got your exact cost for creating this recipe that you can then use in the material costs, which we can update and see how that affects your final price. So I hope this has been valuable and easy for you to understand, so you can go and now create your own spreadsheet so you know exactly how much it costs for you to put together any of the orders within your bakery. If you've got any questions, please leave a comment below or get in touch via my website. You can also check out Cake Pricing Plus if you think the spreadsheets are great but don't want to create your own. There's spreadsheets in there for cake costs, for time, for overheads, for your income, and that'll help you generate very specific prices and also just stay on top of all of the finances within your business. And the link for that is below this video. So thanks so much for watching and good luck.